Okay, my name's Zakashi, guys, and in this video here we are going to be going into the best teams of the month for the month of June. June went past pretty fast, but we got a lot of units this month. Just outside of the beginning of the month, we did have the new Vegito and Gogeta fusing synchro units, but of course the main highlights for June were the new Ultimate Gohan and Super Saiyan God Goku, who have pretty much been the focus for the end of this month. We've also had a few other things such as the Omega Shenron Platinum equipment and the Kid Buu Zenkai, so a lot of teams are popping right now. There's a lot of good teams you can use and a lot of variety in general, but we know who's dominating the game. Outside of that, this is going to be a good show for who I think, or rather who actually is dominating PvP right now, so you might want to take one of these teams and try use them out yourself. No more talking though, let's get straight into this video. Right, so the first team we got here is Sun Family, and this is the Sun Family team I've been using specifically because I don't have Ultimate Gohan, but I purposely decided not to go for him. I haven't spent a single Chrono Crystal. And for the guys that skipped the video, I want you guys to know that this video is not ordered. So any team can beat any team depending on who's using the team. I think every team does have a standing in PvP, but obviously some teams might be better than the others, but I'm not ordering it, just so you guys know. So cool, we've got Sun Family here. On this Sun Family team that I've been using, it works super well, super efficient. We got Ultra Super Saiyan 2 Gohan on the leader because the rest of the team is pretty much Saiyans. We got Ultra UI, he's not getting his Ultra ability, but that's because I want Ultra Super Saiyan 2 Gohan to get his Ultra ability. Then we got the new fusing Vegito because of his Rising Rush. Then we double Zenkai buff Ultra UI. Why specifically him? Because he is going to be able to lock them in if they try to escape on the cover change, and we want him to do the most amount of damage when he does his ultimate arts, which can guarantee kills. Yes, Vegito can also guarantee kills, but he has one Zenkai buff, plus he would kill anyways because he's going to go through a Rising Rush. So you don't have to worry about that. Ultra Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, he's going to do damage regardless because he's got the most broken mechanics all the way around. So this is what I've been using. It's pretty well off, I'm not gonna lie. I get a lot of good results with this team, but there's other teams that you can use around Sun Family, so let me go into the options that you have if you do want to build this team. So I'm gonna go to character list here. Let's look at the blues and look at who's valuable. So if you didn't want to use Vegito, or you don't have Vegito and you wanted to use a blue, you could use Bardock and Goku or Bomku. Maybe Feetku as well, but I wouldn't recommend nowadays. It's not that he's bad, it's simply just the fact that I think Bardock and Goku's Indestructible is better, and Bomku cancels buffs on Rush and that, so it'll be a lot more effective. If you want to Zenkai buff them, you obviously have Dynamic Goku. You can also use Blue Pan because she's a Sun Family buffer for her Zenkai buff. Outside of that, let's go to green. If I'm looking at the green, you obviously want Ultra Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, and I'll be honest, Godku is an option as well, but he's just not Ultra Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. So I'd say if you don't have Ultra Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, you can use Godku, but he's obviously going to be nowhere near as good. Going into purples really is Ultimate Gohan. Should go without saying. I always need to scroll down to check who I don't have. Outside of that, the purples are pretty bad. I'd say the second option is Gold Frieza, and he's not even that great. So, you know, it gets tough. Maybe Path to Power Goku here, but again, he's not that great either. Yellow, obviously, we got Gogeta and Ultra UI. I personally think Ultra UI is better, but Gogeta has his pros as well that can fill the same role. I see them as kind of interchangeable, but I prefer the lock-in and the stalling factor over the tanking and like the vanish recovery he can easily get. I'm going Ultra UI, but Gogeta can also fill those shoes. And for a red, it's Beast Gohan, or you can have the support of Pan. There's obviously Zenkai buffs like Super Saiyan 2 Gohan for the hybrid Saiyans that are red on Sun Family. But he can also give a Z ability to Sun Family, but it's blast based. Forku I already showed having him on, and Bardock I showed having him on. He's not Sun Family, but because the whole rest is Saiyans, the Saiyans will get the buff, and Ultra Gohan on the leader slot gets that. I didn't mention Revhan as well on green. He's actually a sleeper option and a Zenkai buff for the team. Super Saiyan 3 Goku as well if you do want to buff a Saiyan, but this one, the Revhan's better because he's a Sun Family Zenkai buffer. And I think that's pretty much it. Super Saiyan 3 Goku if you want to buff a purple Saiyan if you're using Gold Frieza. For Gohan, I think Goten's like the only option. I think he buffs Z ability is Sun Family, then Zenkai is Sun Family too. So if you want to buff Ultimate Gohan, that's an option as well, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. So just depending on what pieces you have, you build it accordingly. But this is what I've got for Sun Family. This is going to be the first team in the list. We've got Sun Family. Next up, we got Majin Buu Saga. Majin Buu Saga is a very sleeper team, but it's upcoming big time. A lot of the highest ranked players, and I'm talking a lot of them, if you check the leaderboards yourself, so you can go to PvP and then you can go press the rankings right here, and you should scroll through like 1 all the way down to 100. A lot of them are using Majin Buu Saga because it works very, very effectively. Everybody plays a role on the team, and you're able to have 2 of the top 3 units in the game on the one team. So we've got Vegito here, obviously because of his Rising Rush, very effective. He gets a lot of cover now, easily through his green post transformation, but tag switching pre-transformation. He's obviously going to be getting his vanish back as well, does a lot of damage, draw speed, all the good factors that you want in a unit in general. Cool. There's also Ultimate Gohan, who you can see is the missing piece at the top. I don't have him, but Ultimate Gohan is obviously best unit in the game at the moment. He's going to fit on this team. He's got the what I like to call unbreakable endurance, where he's able to cancel buffs if you try to rush him and nullify his endurance, or even a blue card or ultimate that nullifies endurance, he will cancel your buffs. So that's allowing him to stay alive, and he heals a bunch. So even though he might not tank the best, he's going to heal all the damage back. Then we've got Shin here, but better than Shin, I'd recommend using the Majin Buu that's on the Ultimate Gohan banner, the evil Majin Buu. Very effective. I've seen some people in the top ranks of PvP, I'm talking top 100 PvP, use the free-to-play 18, which is insane. I wouldn't recommend. I think the best trio you could use for Majin Buu Saga would be Vegito, the fusion one that I've got there, Ultimate Gohan, and the new Majin Buu that's green. He also has the unbreakable endurance, even though he doesn't have endurance, so he has the buff cancellation. That's what I just should just say. He doesn't have endurance. He has the buff cancellation where if you hit him with an ultimate or something like that, he's going to cancel your buffs, and then you can switch into what's his name, Ultimate Gohan, who has endurance and will survive it. Let's look at the character list though. There is a lot of options, but not a lot of good options, and that's something I want to point out. So for blue, Vegito. If you don't have Vegito, you might not want to use this team straight up. Boo Bros is there, but they pretty much suck. Going into greens, the Majin Buu, who you want to use. If you don't have him, I'm not saying you shouldn't use the team, because you could also use Shin as a red option as like the support layer. They are like combo breakers, they lock cards and whatnot. I should have really talked about what Majin Buu does, besides from just cancelling buffs. He is able to destroy cards. He's able to, I think he increases your cost, so you're unable to long combo basically. He cancels buffs, which is very effective. He can do a bit of damage as well. He's super tanky. He heals as well. There's a lot going on. Not just one-time heal as well. It's like every time a combo ends, which is effective. But cool. Purple, you don't want to run a purple. And for yellow, if you do have a 14-star Ultra Kid Buu, I would actually consider him as an option. But I'm not saying he is the best option. The best 3, like I already mentioned, Vegito, Ultimate Gohan, and the Majin Buu, the green one. For red, Shin is just your option. As you can see, there's not a lot of options, but there are options there. Now, in terms of buffs, like Zenkai buffs and for your team, it's a bit sticky. I didn't mention free to play 18, but she's there. It's a bit sticky in ways you can do it, so I'm gonna have to take off the filter to show you how you can do it. So an example of a buff that you could have, depending on how you build the team. So if you have Ultimate Gohan on the leader slot, these two, Vegito and Shin, could get a buff from CMZ. Because one, let me put on CMZ, I believe. If you have Vegito on leader, you could have a CMZ here. Because Majin Buu is a powerful opponent. I said Ultimate Gohan, but I made a mistake. So this guy's Z ability here is for God Key, and then he's Zenkai buffs God Key, right? So he's going to be a Zenkai buff for Shin. But then he's also going to give Majin Buu the Z ability because they're a powerful opponent. But he's also giving Shin the Z ability because he's a God Key member. But then Vegito's not getting any of that, so he'll be on the leader slot and he can feed off that. And you can build the rest of the team to just buff Shin and Majin Buu. If you have Ultimate Gohan and you put him on the leader slot, I wouldn't advise for using CMZ to buff Shin. In that case, you'd have to opt in for something differently. So maybe you might want to take off this guy entirely and just focus on Vegito getting the buffs, because Majin Buu is really just there to, you know, be a disruptor on the team more than anything else. You could also look at like regeneration Zenkai buffs or powerful opponent Zenkai buffs. So if I go to PO, you want to look at green, for example. This is an example for obviously Majin Buu. It's not the best Z ability for Vegito, but you kind of have to make sacrifices. The one thing I don't like is the bench. But if I could show you a good example here of what like people are running, because there's so many ways people go about it. A lot of teams just sacrifice certain things so they can get certain buffs out of it. You could also just focus on the Z abilities and whatnot. Hopefully I can find one pretty fast, because there was a bunch when I checked yesterday. This is not really Majin Buu Saga. It kind of is, because he has Ultimate Gohan and Vegito. This is Hybrid Saiyans. There's definitely going to be one that pops up pretty fast. I know it. There was like 15 when I went through the top 20 yesterday. Alright, here we go. So we got Ultra Gohan on the leader slot instead, but he also does have the rest as Majin Buu Saga. So we got Vegito, Shin, Ultimate Gohan. He's not opting in for any Zenkai buffs, and he's actually seriously using the team as an example, you can see. So yeah, that's just one example. I'm just going to check a few more just in case, so you can have multiple case studies of like how the team actually runs. Here's another one straight afterwards, which is good. He's using Kid Buu on the leader slot, no Zenkai buffs, but he's gone for the Z abilities, and it actually works super insane. Just to show us some of the equipments as well. I don't usually show equipments in this video, but you get the point. If you summon for the Vegito banner and you summon for the Ultimate Gohan banner, this team is quite insane, and I recommend you check it out if you haven't considered it before. I don't have the pieces, so I'm definitely not using it, but if you do have the pieces, it's worth it for you, trust me. Number 2, we got Majin Buu Saga. Number 3 on this list, we got Hybrid Saiyans. Hybrid Saiyans is a team that wasn't that great, but had a very solid 3, but now they just have that extra option because of Ultimate Gohan. This team is absolutely insane right now. On this team I've got right here, it would be Ultra Super Saiyan 2 Gohan in the leader slot, so he can get his Ultra ability, but I believe he'll get it anyways because his Ultra ability is Hybrid Saiyans, right? Yeah, so he would get it anyways, but cool. Oh crap, I went all the way back out. We're going to go back in. We got Ultimate Gohan would be the number 2 spot. He's getting Zenkai buff by Ultra Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. Not Ultra Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, Zenkai Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, the purple one. But you could also use Super Saiyan Goten, which we'll get into in a bit. We've got Red Beast. So why this team is super effective with Red Beast, you don't have to use Red Beast. You could easily use Rev Han here, but I'm going to explain why Red Beast. Red Beast is one of those guys that cancel buffs as well. So in the previous team, I mentioned the evil Majin Buu. He cancels buffs when you hit him with blue cards, Rising Rush, etc. Beast is also one of those guys that can cancel your buffs if you hit him with those major attacks. And that allows Ultimate Gohan to survive the Rising Rush if it's one of those, or Ultimate Arts, which is one of those. Also, Ultra Super Saiyan 2 Gohan will survive because the Endurance Nullification effect will get cancelled in the process. So that's why he's super effective, but Ultimate Gohan also does that. So you've got 2 people on the team that are cancelling buffs from any major attacks, which will allow your Endurance to not get taken out if they do enough damage to take your health through the Endurance, which is why it's super effective. But then the Zenkai buffs, we got Rev Han and Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. I've got Pan here because Pan is a HP buffer for Hybrid Saiyan. So everybody's getting the HP here. You don't have to use her though. I believe you can use Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks as well. But I think for specifically Beast Gohan, she's also giving the, well, it's health, it's Hybrid Saiyan max base health and Son family. So everybody's also going to get the critical as well, I believe, which is super dope. Generally, this team works, you know, it adds everything that you want on it. Buff cancellations, double endurance, insane damage, blue card damage as well, counters, HP Zenkai buffs. It's neat. But let's go into the other options if you don't have every option here. I wouldn't also say they have other options that are good, but let's see. So if I'm going into the blues, it's not looking great for the blues. I'd say at best, maybe Sword of Hope Trunks. The extra endurance could be pretty nice, I'm going to be honest. It could be pretty nice. He also breaks the combo when his gauge fills. You might want to run him on the leader slot, so he's actually getting the extra critical from Pan as well. But outside of that, it kind of messes with your Zenkai buffs. So for example, Pan here is a Son family Zenkai buffer, but there's no real good blues anyways. So you might have to think about a Zenkai buff for him, but you might be messing up the team entirely. Going to greens, we've already got Ultra Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. Low key, he's very important. You can Zenkai buff him with Rev Han, which is the best option. But I believe you also have Ultimate Gohan over here as a Zenkai buffer, the 1%. And you also have this Super Trunks as a Zenkai buffer, which is also good if you don't have Rev Han. Going into purple, really it's just Ultimate Gohan. I think if you don't have Ultimate Gohan and Ultra Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, you should drop hybrids completely. Outside of that, no other purple is good. Going into yellow, Gotenks is probably your best bet. If you don't, if you do want to use a yellow, sorry, I did mention how Gotenks could also be a HP buffer for his Z ability, but obviously Pan is better based on the team that I have. Other than that, the yellows are not really great. Going into red, it's obviously just Beast Gohan. Pan is a good support option if you do want to use her, but there is Zenkai buffs available for them. So for example, Great Saiyaman 1 and 2, Z ability is Hybrid Saiyan Sagas from the movies, and the Zenkai buff is Red Sagas from the movies, which also works for Beast Gohan and Pan. Super Saiyan 2 Gohan here is Heat Dome Trunks and the Super Saiyan Trunks. In order of who's the best for their Z ability and the Zenkai ability, I'd say Trunks over here. Great Saiyaman 1 and 2, Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, then this Super Saiyan Trunks, but advisory to use Great Saiyaman 1 and 2 Heat Dome Trunks first if you can. If you do want to Zenkai buff him, I'm not choosing to because I'd rather go for the HP option, and Beast is not really the main highlight of this team anyways. It's going to be Ultimate Gohan and Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. So yeah, that's the team for Hybrid Saiyans. Very, very overpowered team that you can use right now. Revhan's also an option if you want to bring him. Say if they have no purples, you might want to bring double green, which could help you out big time. But yeah, that's the number 3 team. We've got Hybrid Saiyans. Next up, we got Powerful Opponents. Powerful Opponents is a very good team, but the pieces, the options they have, maybe not so much. But we'll look at it right here. So on the leader slot, I've got Ultra Golden Frieza. Ultra Golden Frieza so he can get his Ultra ability, but I believe he's going to get it regardless because it's based on Powerful Opponent. So yeah, let's look at what we've got. We've got CMZ, the Zenkai CMZ. He is a menace. Anti-Saiyan Justice. He's going to be taking out all those big Saiyans, even if he's type disadvantage. Explosive Green makes him go type neutral. And of course, it gives him a little lock-in so he can do damage. He gets cover null off his first strike. He gets a green card from his blue card. He gets vanish back when they switch. There's just so many good factors to this guy's kit. Is dumb. And then the third option, who isn't there because I don't have him, is Super Baby 2, Super Gauge 2, Gauge Araga, Maharaga himself. He is actually insane. If you can't kill him before his gauge fills, he's going to adapt and survive. It's insane how useful Super Baby 2 can be on this team. So you've got the comeback ability with Ultra Golden Frieza. I didn't even need to explain much about him. CMZ with the Explosive Green and Anti-Saiyan. And then I also mentioned that Super Baby 2 is also Anti-Saiyan, but not just for himself, but he gives it to his allies. So on top of CMZ already being Anti-Saiyan for himself, he's also getting buff from Super Baby 2. Then we got Jiren, who's Zenkai buffing Golden Frieza. Let's look at that. Here. You can see the Powerful Opponent Zenkai buff. Then we got 8 Vegeta here, who's also a Z ability for Powerful Opponent. Then he's also going to give a Zenkai buff for Powerful Opponent, which is CMZ. Then depending on what you want last, you could easily Zenkai buff First Form Frieza again. I believe you can Zenkai buff CMZ with Red Rose. And you can also, I don't think you can give a good Zenkai buff for Super Baby 2. That's also going to impact the rest of the team. So let's just look at the other options that we've got, right? I'm missing quite a lot, but it's cool. For blue, I'd say if you're not using Janemba, blue Beerus can fit the bill, but I wouldn't recommend using a blue anyways for Powerful Opponent. It's not that I think it's bad, it's just not optimal. That's just my take on it. Maybe you might disagree and you have a different build. I haven't seen a lot of people using a blue when they run Powerful Opponent though, so that's just from my experience, but if you think otherwise, let me know. For a green, so I'm just looking at what's available. Majin Buu, this guy here. He is good, but it restricts him heavily because he's meant to be ran with Majin Buu Saga team. That's what his unique ability shows. So if I actually go into his details, he is good, but you can see here, he applies certain effects to allies if there are 2 Majin Buu Z battle members, and that pretty much just tells you run him on Majin Buu Saga and nobody else, nowhere else. Other than that, would I even recommend running the green? Nah, the green options are not that great, I'm gonna be real with you. Let's go into purple though. Let's look at what we have in the purple option. So we already showed Ultra Golden Frieza. I'd even turn on the Ultra option, but we have Ultra Golden Frieza. We got Jiren. Jiren's also a good option you can have. He has endurance. I wouldn't say he's the best because the team is very strike based that I showed. But of course, depending on how you're going with things, you can mix it up. This guy here, Nappa and Vegeta. The extra revival layer is super dope. But then you can make the team kind of Frieza Force. So if you didn't want to use actual Powerful Opponent, you could use First Form Frieza, Ultra Golden Frieza, Nappa and Vegeta. I know that's like straight purple, and that could make you very, very vulnerable. But in the sense that you're juicing Golden Frieza, he can actually work through no matter what. His comeback is also insane to do damage, specifically against Ultra UI. You've got to be careful with Gogeta because he can just synchro and heal it all back. But Nappa and Vegeta having that revival layer, and they're also immune to a lot of things, can be super, super good and effective. Only alongside Ultra Golden Frieza though. Alone, I wouldn't really recommend it. Going into the yellows, I already spoke about Super Gauge 2. Gassed him up. He's going to be your main yellow. If you're not running him, maybe Ultra Kid Buu at 14 stars, 12 stars maybe. I wouldn't recommend as a first-hand option, but he's available. Going into reds, it's not looking too good for the red. I guess Super 17 and CMZ. Like CMZ, I already spoke about him, so I don't need to go into him. But Super 17, you kind of need to fix the team around him, and he's a range type unit as well, where, like I said, the team I showed you is very strike heavy. So if it's not CMZ, maybe Ultra Omega as well. I almost forgot about him because he got his plat. He also has endurance. Did I also mention Kid Buu in blue? He got a Zenkai as well, low key. But you might have to be wary of like how you put these guys up. So if I look at this guy, his ability, because of the blast side, you know, you need to remember the rest of your team. Is it going to be strike based or blast based? You don't want to be crossing over too harshly. Super 17 being blast based. Omega Shenron, I think he's a defense type, yes. And for the most part, I think you'll be fine, but you have to really think about the rest of your team and the pieces you're putting together with each other. You do really want an endurance. I think CMZ and Super Baby 2 as a duo are just too good with the anti-Saiyan stuff, and then on top of that, Ultra Golden Frieza doing his things and getting anti-Saiyan from Super Baby 2. Very effective in general. There's actually a lot more pieces than I thought there would be, actually, but are the pieces that great? I guess that's in your hands to decide, especially in comparison to like Son Family. It's very hard to make that decision. But I think this is the 4th team that we've got here. We've got powerful opponents. Right, so the 5th team we've got in this video, and yes, there is honorable mentions. We've got Fusion Warriors. Fusion Warriors is just a super good team right now. But there is no protection specifically with this build. This build here is using the main 3 Fusion Warriors in PvP. But there's no protection, as in no endurance, no revival. So if you're in a combo and you take too much damage, you're just grits. But I think in most cases, CMZ, he tanks a lot and can heal a lot, and Gogeta tanks a lot and can heal a lot. So you don't need to worry too much, but at the same time, if you get Rising Rush, there's nothing to save you. That's the biggest issue. So let's look at what we got here. We got CMZ, Mr. Anti-Saiyan. I already spoke about him earlier, Explosive Greens. He's able to lock you in if he hits his ultimate. He's going to destroy cards. He's gold type neutral. I didn't even mention that he nullifies endurance of his main ability, so he can avoid people like Ultimate Gohan and anybody that cancels buffs pretty much, which is super effective. Looking at it though, it's super good just to have him. Even though he's not a pure Fusion Warrior, he is a Fusion Warrior. People don't like to say he's a pure Fusion Warrior because he's he doesn't buff Fusion Warriors on the Z ability, which I don't think is the best metric. But anyways, we got next Vegito, Mr. Rising Rush. He's gonna rise and rush you and kill you. He's gonna nullify endurance as well. It's just super insane. I don't need to talk much about him. We got Gogeta, Mr. Strike Assault. You know, he's gonna avoid counters. That's very useful in general. He has the other factors as well, like getting his advantage back from his main. His blue card actually is blast nullification, so it's not blast armor. He can avoid the anti-blast cards from the likes of Ultra Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. Impact resistance, so he's going to be tanking a lot as well. Very good stuff just in general. And then we've got a Zenkai buff for 1 for each. So we've got Super Saiyan 3 Gold Tanks, who's Zenkai buffing Gogeta, and also giving a HP buff for the whole team. Namek Goku, who is a Zenkai buff for fusing Vegito because it's blue, and then Red Vegito, who's a Zenkai buff for CMZ, but the Z ability also goes to this Vegito, because the Z ability from this Vegito is actually absurd. Let me even show you. 40% to Fusion Warriors base strike and blast defense, but he also gives 20% to strike attack for Vegito specifically, but then CMZ will be getting that because he's leader slot. So yeah, let's look at the other options you've got. I don't think there's a lot, but we'll see. So let me actually turn on Ultras. Ultras is the mic, cool. So for the blue option, Vegito's your main man. But I've seen people actually try to use this guy because he got a plat, right? He actually snuck into the top 20 most used units for BR70 and above. He was specifically 20th. So he barely made it, but he made it nonetheless. It's a secondary option if you don't have the fusing Vegito. I wouldn't say he's a good option though, but he is an option that exists. Don't use Ultra Super Goji in my opinion, unless you have him 14 stars, but even then he will hold you back. Going into green, if you do want the protection, Pycon is obviously there. Pycon and Super Gogeta. I actually like this unit a lot, specifically Super Gogeta side. I hope they do a Legend Limited Super Gogeta that's just Super Gogeta, with not Pycon. That would be good. But yeah, Super Gogeta exists with Pycon, the revival protection. You can also use G4. Again, no protection from this guy. He does tank a bit, not so much in nowadays with a lot of like Ultimate Gohan and Ultra Golden Frieza, but he's a good option to have. Nonetheless, not the best though. Pycon will obviously be your main green. In terms of the purples, no one really, just don't use a purple, but if you have to use one, it's going to be Ultra Gogeta blue. Not that I recommend it. Going into yellows, it's obviously going to be Gogeta as a first pick, the fusing one, but you could also use Gold Tanks as an option. Don't use Ultra Super Vegito in my opinion. And then Gold Tanks, obviously the HP buff. If you are using UGB, by the way, but back to purple, you can use SV as a HP buffer. At 14 stars, he's a HP buffer, only at 14 stars. But his Z ability is also good in addition to that, so just bear that in mind. Then for red, we've obviously got CMZ because of the anti-Saiyan stuff. But if you didn't want to use him, you could use Ultra Vegito Blue. In red, there's actually a few options. Ultra Omega as well in the leader slot, and you can also use Super 17. Even though he's a range type, he messes up the synergy for the team. He is good on his own to work. He's not the best option, but he is an option available to you. Again, minimal protection if you're using UVB, Super 17 or CMZ, but if you have Ultra Omega, you get endurance, so just bear that in mind for the general protection of the team. I think Fusion Warriors is super good just because of Vegito and Gogeta, but your third being CMZ is really just the icing on the cake because you do extra damage. But if you don't want to use them, you can go for Omega with endurance, or you can take out someone and use Pycon instead because he has the revival layer. So yeah, that's Fusion Warriors. That's the 5th team. We're going to get into some honorable mentions now. Alright, so we've got 2 honorable mentions, and this is the first one. So we're going to be going into movies. I'm not going to talk about it too heavily because, like I said, it's an honorable mention, but it's easily a team that can hang with any of the 5 teams that I mentioned. It's just the order, and I think personally I've been seeing it a lot less in comparison to the other teams that I already mentioned. But movies is definitely a good team to have available to you. We've got Ultra Golden Frieza, who's a top 5 unit. We got Gogeta, who's potentially a top 5, top 6 unit. And then your third option could be God Goku. But let's look at the other options just quickly. So I just want to show you some options that you could use. Let me change the preference. So looking at the blues, obviously Janemba would fit the bill. God of Destruction Beers fits the bill. God Goku green already mentioned as the next option. You got Pycon, orange Piccolo. As a purple, wouldn't really recommend. As a yellow, Gogeta's already there, and for red, you've got Beast Gohan. Just works really and truly. I'm not going to go in too much into the bust, but you can see how I've got it here. God Goku is meant to be the third option that I decided to use. He has endurance, which is going to be your protection layer, but also Ultra Golden Frieza with his comeback is that protection layer. You could also just lead us up somebody and just make the team automatically good, but you know, depending on how you wanted to go about it, it will work. So this is movies. Again, because it's honorable mention, I'm not going to go too deeply into it, but it could easily hang with any of the top 5 teams that I mentioned straight up. Next up, we got Saiyans. Saiyans is very popular and powerful just because it has a lot of the Son family units there. So Gogeta and Vegeta goes without saying. They've got Bardock and Goku as well for the indestructible. So you can see this team here, I've actually double Zenkai buffed Vegito and Bardock and Goku with Pan and the Dynamic Goku, and then we've got Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks as a Zenkai buffer for Gogeta, but also HP buff for the whole team. Bardock and Goku on the leader slot, so they get, but there's 2 Fusion Warriors who are getting the HP buff by default. If we look at the options there, so let me just change my filter again. So if I change the character tag, there we go. There's a lot of options in Saiyans, but the issue with Saiyans is that the Z abilities are often restricted one way. So the Saiyan might be a Saiyan, of course, but they might be specifically for like Future or something like that, for example. So depending on how you build it, you might have to leader slot somebody to make it work. So Vegeta and Gogeta are going to be your main 2, but there are other options not to sleep on. Broly for the likes of him, for example. Bardock and Goku's the one that I got on. Bomku there. Vegito, obviously. Going into greens, we got the Pycon, God Goku, the new one. I don't have him, so he's down below. We got G4. You see him there. Evo Ken, Revival Sign. Going into purple. Looking at garbage, I'm not gonna lie. Nappa and Vegeta, I guess, are good. You can make it kind of Vegeta clan. Going into yellow, we got the Gogeta and of course Ultra UI, who's low-key a better option, but you'd have to leader slot him to prioritize his Ultra ability, and you have to change the Zenkai buff, so you might want to change it to somebody like Bardock, where the Z ability is actually better outside of the HP with Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. But of course, if it's UI Goku, you can't have Gotenks unless he's on the leader slot. You get what I'm saying? Cool. Then going into red, you can see the likes of like maybe Ultra Vegeta Blue, but again, the equipment's also factor into how you're building things, so that's why Saiyans is a bit weird. Do you get what I'm saying? You gotta work it a certain way. It's practically Son family of 1 extra piece if I really think about it. I didn't mention Super Baby 2, but he can be used on Saiyans. Super Vegeta Sneak, but yeah, Saiyans has a lot of pieces, but you have to be wary of the Z abilities, the tags they actually buff, and then the equipment you're going to use because of the tags they hold. It's sometimes very difficult to make the Saiyan team work, which is why you should just pretty much stick to Son family. But it's a team that can work at the highest level of PvP, at least in my opinion. And the last team that we have in honorable mentions, I know I said 2, but there's actually a third one. People are probably thinking, whoa, God Ki is not on this list, but it is. God Ki is very effective. We mentioned CMZ a lot in this video. We mentioned Gogeta a lot in this video. And the third option is going to be God Goku, of course. We also got Shin there. He's getting a Zenkai buff from CMZ, so if you wanted to use him in the scenario they're not using a blue, you could use him for disruption. Just note that if you're not using God Goku, you won't have any protection really. So let's just look at the options here. Let me change my filter. So I gotta change this from Saiyan to God Ki. So we got God Ki here as a blue option. The new Beerus, I guess. Vegito is also here, but wouldn't recommend. Going into green, Evo Ken obviously exists. We got God Goku as the first brown pick though. Going into purple, it's not looking the best. It's not looking the best. UGB, I guess you'd probably have to leader slot him though. Going into yellow, UI Goku exists and GB exists. Both of them are good. And then for red, CMZ is your first round pick in my opinion. But you also have Shin and Ultra Vegito Blue depending on your playstyle. Just be wary about the protection on this team. If you don't have the main three pieces in my opinion, CMZ, God Goku and Gogeta, or if not UI, you're going to quite suffer a bit because there's no protection. God Goku is very important for that layer of protection. But yeah, man, that's going to be the end of the video. As you guys saw, there's a lot of variety right now in the meta. You can use all of these teams and pretty much hang as long as you have the pieces. That's with every team though. You need the pieces to be able to hang. Otherwise, you're just going to get crushed in every sense. But I think all of these teams are really good. Let me know about the teams. If you want to order them in the comment section, also feel free to do that. I will eventually check the comment section. But hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. Hopefully it was helpful. If you haven't already, make sure to press that subscribe button, man. We're on this grind to 100,000 subscribers. I appreciate you guys for watching the video, man. My name is Zakashi, guys, and I will see you guys in the next one, man.